Hello, everyone. Welcome to another webinar.
Welcome, everybody.
Let us know in the chat where you're joining from, what city, what's your name, why are you here, what are you curious about? Like today, we're going to be talking. I see people joining in. We're going to be talking about a lot of video stuff, a lot of Adobe tools, a lot of BenQ monitors. It's going to be like it's Friday. It's 6 p.m. here in New York, so we're gonna take it easy, go through
Mhm.
around some ideas and some concepts. It's gonna be interesting, and we're gonna have another webinar coming up, I believe. Richie, correct me if I'm wrong. So we'll have more time to answer questions. But so far, I see David from San Jose, Candace from Alabama, Luke from Washington, from Seattle. Oh my God, we have Kristen from
Anchorage.
Anchorage.
Well,
That's
welcome, everybody.
amazing.
All over the place.
Yeah, it's like all over the country. I'm representing the East Coast. And Richie, you're in Dallas. So
Yes, sir. Down south. Yes. So everyone in here, the next webinar with Esteban will be exactly 2 months from now. So October 23rd, mark your calendars, or we'll just send you guys an email, whichever.
yeah, Canada, great. Florida, Devin, we were just talking about Adobe Max happening
Mhm.
in October. And it's gonna be there down in Miami, so Miami Beach. We're really, really excited to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, Max is gonna be really cool. All right, guys, welcome. Richie, I don't know if
Yeah.
you have some announcements to make. I'll let you talk
Sure.
to the audience.
Thanks, Esteban. All right, so welcome everybody. Welcome back to another AQCOLOR webinar. My name's Richie, and with me is the incredibly talented Esteban Toro. So, as y'all know by now, Esteban is a travel photographer and a filmmaker that captures the beauty in our world all around the globe. His photography has been showcased all around the world, New York, Paris, Amsterdam, even recently the United Arab Emirates. So everyone, please give Esteban a warm welcome. Before we start, just a few updates on the BenQ side. So the four elements design contest. I know this webinar is about uh, video editing and filmography, but for all the designers in there, it's good through September 16th. This contest is an opportunity for everyone to showcase your skills and bring your imagination to life. It's the four elements, so design anything around earth, wind, fire, water, and you have the opportunity to win some sweet prizes. And then, as we were just talking, Adobe Max. If anyone in here is planning to attend Adobe Max this year in Miami, go ahead and leave it in the comments. So BenQ will be attending with a booth on the floor for anyone who plans on attending from October 14th through 16th. Feel free to drop by. Esteban's going to be there as well.
Yep,
Awesome,
I'll
Devin.
definitely be there.
Okay, so in this webinar, Esteban's going to cover advanced editing techniques, color grading, and workflow optimization using Adobe Creative Cloud, which he's viewing all through the precision of BenQ monitors. This webinar is perfect for filmmakers looking to enhance their storytelling. So if this applies to you, you're in for a treat. So enough for me now. I'll give the floor to you, Esteban.
Thank you, Richie. And again, like guys, welcome. I will not be monitoring the chat, but Richie will be in my ear. So if you guys have any questions, just open the Q&A, open the chat, drop your questions there. I will be happy to answer those questions while we're chatting. Today it's gonna be, like I curated some of my work, and I decided that I wanted to show you the structure of how I decided to do it from the concept to the technical part of it. So we're going to be talking about, like what is in my head when I decide to edit certain projects. We're going to be watching some of them, and then we're going to be discussing them as well. And I would love if you guys have questions that you ask me, because this is a conversation, and I really love to have that like conversation with you while we're connecting virtually. So let me share my screen. Um, and let's start with the first one. Probably if you went to the If you attended the last webinar we hosted about a month ago, I show you this reel. So first I'm going to show you some trailers and reels, and we're going to discuss how I think about them, and then we're going to discuss a little bit more like long format. So let's play this. Cool. So if you probably some of you have already seen this reel. This is the reel that I usually introduce myself with. But today I decided that I wanted to share it again and tell you why I decided to create this reel and how I thought of it. So part of my journey as a photographer has always been like I quickly realized in my journey as a photographer that I needed not only to show my work, but I needed to show the behind the scenes. A lot of people ask me on a regular basis, are these places real? How do you capture the light? And I found that in general, I'm accessing these super remote places, hard to access. And I figured that it will be great to start recording my own videos and also having, whenever possible, a videographer coming with me and recording as well some behind the scenes and some other perspectives. So everything that you're seeing here, like all these scenes that are happening, like these multiple locations have been, it's just a result of multiple trips over the years, footage that I collected. There is footage that I recorded. I believe maybe this footage here, this video clip here, it's recorded probably when I was still using Nikon. And it was the first time that I went to Dubai. And like the quality of the video for the Nikon D800 wasn't necessarily the best, but it was actually decent. So I figured like, okay, why not to, like record one clip or two. And then we have like Sony A7 III, Sony A7R4, Sony A7R 2 actually. We have Sony A7 III, etc., Sony A1, Sony A7S2, S3, etc. So there are multiple cameras, multiple lenses, multiple moments. And it's, as you can see, like the whole idea with this is just to create the perception of like this person has been to multiple places. This person has traveled to different locations. So I created this reel because I wanted to generate impact before I started any presentation. And I still use it nowadays. I think the last edit that I did on this one was maybe early this year. But I have been changing it a little bit. It has kept the same structure that is like really fast paced, like one image after another. Then it becomes really quick. Then you have a moment where you can observe, like a really calmly. Um, and this has helped me to create impact. So with Adobe right now, I'm traveling all over the country and sometimes all over the world, showing and demoing different features, different apps, etc. And I always want to set the tone of who I am, what is the work I do, and what I care for. And I feel that helps to also evoke the conversation with fellow creatives. So that was the reason I decided to create this reel. Many of the scenes that you're seeing here are recorded by me. Of course, those where I am being shot, like like where I'm being photographed, has been like by my videographers that I have worked with in the past. But some of these scenes are really intimate that I have had access only by myself. So it's basically collecting those memories and collecting those moments so I can actually have those and introduce them to my audience. And that is especially important for me because I want to position myself like a person who is creating this, visiting and creating these images in these remote places, and I need to show it both with still images and also with video. And especially nowadays has become extremely useful to have this reel because everything now is like videos we are experiencing, especially in social media. So having all this footage that at first I was just recording, I didn't know what to do with it, has become, like a great source of images for me. So I have a huge archive, and usually the things that I would change, and I'm gonna tell you about this project a little bit later, is for example, I will change the last shots, like this helicopter shot, I shot it, well, I had it shot by a videographer back in 2022. A friend of mine, Nico Moreno, who lives here in the city. We planned this shot a lot, and I'm gonna tell you more about it. But I will be changing like a couple of shots here and there depending on the story that I want to tell. So if I wanna, like probably before I remember I had like a drone shot. I was photographing a community and there was like a drone that was going around, and I will just keep the structure of this video open in a project in Premiere, and if I need to switch something, I just swap it really quick. But if I actually would like to change it, I can easily just download this file or just use the original file that I have and select and cut the scenes automatically just with a couple of clicks in Premiere Pro. And then I will be able to replace whatever, section that I will have there. Now, if you listen to the music, I mean, if I play this video, like I'm gonna be nice with myself. I think this is a really nice footage that I have here, but at the same time, part of the power, and I know I muted intentionally. Part of the power of this video is the music. Like, look how much it adds to it. That mystery, the voice, like this woman singing like super magically, and all the, like the sound effects that are happening there. Look at it. You can feel all these things are intentionally planned. So what I did for this video, because it's my reel, is I hired a sound designer, and I explained to him my main idea. I told him like, look, I want to create this feeling, these emotions. We look for some references, and then like he just started working on some versions of the music. I started playing with it, creating my reel, and it was like a back and forth of a couple of times. But then after that, I got this wonderful music that I've been using for my reel for the past couple of years. And as I said, I usually keep modifying things here and there. So what I'm trying to tell you with this is, especially now with everything that is happening, like social media presence, having to produce content on a regular basis, I think a wise thing to do right now is having behind the scenes and having like high quality produced behind the scenes. So if you guys can, like either afford it by hiring a videographer, a filmmaker to go and film what you do, or maybe asking a friend. And that's why we have this wonderful BenQ community here. You can, like maybe introduce yourself with each other and then like ask like, oh, like I'm in the same town. Let me film you and then you will film me. But I will definitely recommend you to have an impactful trailer that shows what is what you do or what is what you want to do. Um, Many times, like, and before I started working with Adobe, I used to work, like as a travel photographer and filmmaker. And this just showing this reel landed me a bunch of gigs that I was able to just work and capture because I would just send this reel and they will be like, yeah, we want to hire you. So, like this is one of these ideas that I consider that every photographer, filmmaker, or creative should have its own reel. Um, but as much as you can update it, and then just think about the structure of how you want, like how is the rhythm that you want for your reel. So what I wanted for my reel especially was like, first I want to start with something that is impactful. That's why, like this amazing like sun rays coming through and what, like what is happening there. And then like, like the magic of, you will see it here in a second, like I'm shooting, so it's about a photographer, and then there's the light coming through in this temple. So it started setting up the mood, like, oh, this is gonna be like, like it's really impactful, beautiful, like kind of like it catches your attention, and that's the intention. And then it becomes super fast. And then you have, yeah, I want you to see this, like person, landscape, person, landscape, person, landscape, person, person. So it's like this consistent attack, like that, like I play with the rhythm, and I have to 100% thank for, for that to my sound designer, because he's the one with whom we have had this exchange of ideas, and he has recommended me, like, like let's make it faster here, let's make it slower here. And these things definitely help to create a powerful reel. And that's, well, this is the reel that I currently show in my presentations. So this is how I structure it. Again, if you notice, they're not like really, I don't know, like special effects. Probably the only graphic that I have in the reel is the Adobe logo. Besides that, everything that I have here is just like one straight cut to the next one, to the next one, to the next one. So just try to, let's watch it a little bit so you can get an idea. Straight cut, 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 cut again. So if you notice, the transitions are happening more depending on what is happening in the scene. Let's say I have always loved how the kid, this kid over here, you will see like there's this sound of the bell right here when the sun is showing up. And then there's, I just want to come back one frame here. It's a little bit hard to get it there. But just how you saw it, like how the kid is just hitting the camera. I feel that was like a special moment. So again, I just want to combine these moments. And then I have like super contemplative moments where, like this is just falling. I just want you to see it again. The sand is falling here, slow, the sound, hit to the camera. It's a little bit more fast-paced. And then you will see how it turns really, really slow. This is all a little bit like medium, I would say, like not super fast, super slow, slow, super slow, contemplative, faster. And it all goes to this moment over here. This is the longest shot that I have in the reel. And that is intentional. This is something that when I was recording there, I asked the fisherman. My idea was like, I photographed and documented the fisherman, the cormorant fisherman in China for more than 5 years. And what I wanted was like, okay, how do I get a new perspective? So I asked the fisherman, like, can you actually throw the net towards the camera? And they were actually concerned because the net has some like heavy metal parts to it. They were concerned that they were going to hit me with it. And I said, like, it doesn't matter, as long, I mean, I'll protect the camera. That's basically all that I care right now. Um, but it actually, this shot helped me to have like this spectacular like ending that I found like really good for ending my reel. So this is about the reel. So I wanted to spend some time here. Again, like Richie, if you see some questions there, or if you guys have questions, please don't hesitate to interrupt me. I'm here for that. Let's jump, if there are no questions, let's jump to the next one.
No
So,
questions yet.
okay, cool. So the next trailer that I produce, this is a course that I released back in 2022, I believe. This is an online workshop about storytelling and portraits. So here I walk you, like in how to produce portraits. So let me just show you how this trailer looks like. Again, I love to credit my sound designer, Divey. He's an amazing musician and sound designer, and like all the music that you're hearing right now, and hopefully it goes in a really good quality through your speakers. It's created by him, so I'm really thankful for that. It just, to me, it's most of the magic that is happening. If you paid attention closely, I actually used some of the footage that you saw in my reel as well. So, for example, you remember how I was showing you this shot over here? Again, like this is an amazing shot that I love. It's like I'm gonna use it as many times as I can. Something that I realized recently is that we as creatives think that, like, oh, I already shot this shot. I shouldn't use it anymore. Someone will notice and someone will call me out. Someone will write in YouTube like, oh, Esteban, I already saw this in your reel. Zero people has ever reached out to me and told me like, why are you using the same shot? I think either they don't care, or like they just simply like they just forget about it. We see so many images every day that people don't care. So if this has happened to you, just like make sure that you know that no one cares as much as you care. So just use the shot, repeat the shot, use it again. Like do A/B testing, create a first video with this shot, then change it for something else. Probably no one's gonna notice. People is gonna appreciate it, and you just have to stay creative. That's just like a little thing talking about the shots that I reuse. And of course, like the first thing that I want to create, again, like I always want to start with a really magical shot. So every time that I go on any expedition, I try to capture a really magical scene, something that looks like out of this reality, uh, or at least our reality. This is their reality. So again, like he just blowing that and then just seeing how my name comes up, it was the perfect transition to me. Trust me, and I will be super honest with you on this. I didn't plan that. I didn't plan like, oh, I know he's gonna blow up these like the ashes and then I'm gonna introduce my signature. No. Usually when I'm on any trip, what I do is I'm just present there 100%. I do my research before. I check what, like what are the traditions, what people look like, how do they, like in general, how do they live? And then I'm just there with my camera trying to get as much footage as I can, trying to get the best images I can. And then once I come back with all the footage and I have it here, I'm sitting here in my desk, I try to figure out like, okay, what can I actually create with this? So if you're a video editor as me, like you know that editing these projects is mostly like hours and hours of watching the footage, like browsing through things and understanding how one shot can connect to the other. So in this case, like again, I took a videographer with me. What I'm doing here is showing, like these epic scenes and then just showing like how, like what is the name of the course, what are you getting, like I give you a glimpse into what is the course like, like what is the style of the workshop that you can expect. Um, and then, it's basically just showing you like more details. Everything in, let me see, this video is 59 seconds, which I remember that by the time that we were working on this video, I remember that I asked my sound designer, I told him like, we need 59 seconds this time, and he will tend to leave like this really peaceful ending that will last like, like the music will fade out for like 10-15 seconds, and he was like, man, I can't, like I can make 59 seconds. I need to make like 1 minute and 15, and I'll be like, I need it to be 59 seconds. And the reason for that is that yes, I cared about the beauty of, like the music and the video and everything else, but I needed to promote this online, meaning, like my website, social media. And as we know, like the times are getting shorter and shorter in how fast we need to produce content. So actually 59 seconds now feel a little bit long compared to the, like the length of the videos that I'm producing right now. But it's actually, like I will show you. I have produced like entire documentaries, and this feels already like really short, but but I'm now producing shorter content than this. So look, one of the things that I love doing from time to time when I'm creating, like my own content is I have a lot of photographs. I don't have a video scene. I don't have a video footage of this photo. This was, like one really good moment of luck. So what I decided to do is like, okay, I can always introduce a photo, and let me just show you like it's basically I'm just setting up keyframe in Premiere, and I'm just sliding the photo from left to right, and with the music and all the movement that is happening there, people barely notice. Of course, you guys notice because you're experts and you notice like, oh, people is not moving, no one's breathing, nothing's, like nothing's moving there. But in general, it gives the feeling that is part of the video or that is just one of the photos that I'm showing. Of course, this is important, like showing the companies that I have worked with, that the things that I have done in the past. So it builds, like that trust. And then just, like giving that kind of like funny feeling, like the guy laughing there, and like just ending with how people can access the course. If you notice, I reuse the same shot. I don't know how many times I have used the shot of Avush. I just think this is such a wonderful shot. I mean, just look at it. Like the guy opens his eyes. I'm gonna keep using it probably until I have a better shot of someone else or something else. And then I just close there with my website and where people can actually access the course and getting it. So this is another trailer, and this is the structure that went behind it, like basically creating something impactful that people will feel tempted to like, oh, okay, what am I just seeing in 1 minute? I'm gonna go to his website. And then if you go to the website, you will read super detailed, like how many lessons, what do you get in each lesson, all these things, because my intention is just to grab your attention, and that you'll be curious and go like, oh, let me check it out. So that has been a little bit of the transition that I have made. And this is, let's say, on the commercial side, and I'm going to show you some other commercial projects. But let me show you this trailer of a documentary that I produced from 2015 to 2016. I think we produced this movie. It's called A Photograph Dies, and it's about Jean-Paul Bourdieu, a French photographer that you will see his work
Hey,
right now.
Esteban, sorry, real
Yep.
quick before you start this next segment. So, a couple questions came in. So do you always use Adobe products?
Yeah, mostly I'm using, let me see. I'm using Lightroom to edit my photos, Photoshop. I'm using Premiere Pro, After Effects. What am I missing? I think that's basically what I use. Yeah.
Okay, and then going back to the video on your shot with the bulls, what's your
Yeah.
preferred camera and lens combo for wides like those? Devin's wondering.
Yeah, so basically what I use, look, I love to have with me always a wide angle lens, and then something that helps me, maybe like a 70 millimeter lens as well. So I try to keep the combination of the two. Something that, funny enough, a friend of mine, videographer, always mocks at me. He says like, oh, the wide angle, that wide angle look, that's like the Esteban Toro signature. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. But it seems that I use it a lot. So uh, some people will say like, yeah, but like the shape is getting weird. I don't care. I just care that, it's this massive scene. You can see everything that is happening. I love the wide angles. So wide angles for me are like like my number one thing to trust. So my favorite lens is the 16-35 millimeter lens. And then I will have something like like a 70 millimeter if I want to get like a little bit closer, some close up. That's what I will use.
Perfect.
So
And
yeah.
then, yeah, thank you. Final
Cool.
question. How do you plan the sequence when putting these reels together? Are there any rules you follow? Mahesh is wondering.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mahesh. Look, I will say that the music, maybe because of my background, like I was a musician before I started into photography and filmmaking. So music is key for me. Music is what gives the rhythm. And actually, this is not really conventional. You start developing these relationships with the people you work with. When I started working with my sound designer, he used to tell me like, okay, send me like a draft of your timeline, like with some of the shots, and I will start creating based on that. And I was like, nope, I actually want you to create the music. So we used to have like hours of brainstorming on the feeling on like, okay, first it's gonna start super fast paced, and we're gonna introduce maybe some, like African drums, and then it's gonna be like someone singing super slow without knowing the images. Like I will imagine what images I will put there, but I will not show him. And there were two reasons for that. The first one, I don't want him to be biased, because if he sees an image and then he thinks like, oh, this is like an elephant, then maybe he's gonna, like he's gonna have some. I feel I'm gonna block his creativity. So I really like to just have a
Mhm.
conversation around the idea, and then when the first, like the first track of music is ready, I start creating my own. Like I start putting some images, and that comes reason number two. It makes my life easier. It's just easier to create on top of music that just to start with video. Sometimes if you just sequence images after each other, they can be related, but the music is what really gives them life. So that's how I do it.
Okay, awesome insight. Thank you, Esteban. All right, that's all the
All
questions
right,
for now.
let's keep going. Have a lot to see. Okay, so the trailer about John Paul. Let me show you.
Ignition sequence starts. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The engine's running.
What is it? What is this body mind? Death is this second made a bit longer.
There you go. So this is the trailer. Again, think about like right now, it seems even when I watch it, I think, like, wow, this is a little bit slow, contemplative. Why does he start with, like 5 to 6 seconds of a dark frame? Like this is 2016 when we released this video. The language was completely different from what we're doing now. And what I wanted to get, because it's something that you get, across the movie, is that it's really contemplative. The landscape is super important. Color is extremely important for John Paul. It's everything that he cares. He's a painter, he's a photographer. So, and he really takes time to produce each one of his photos. And overall, you see, like you see everything that is happening here, and you say, like, okay, there's like this person whose body is painted red in the middle of like salt flats. What is going on here? And that is actually what is, what is he's mentioning, like what is look what he's saying
What
here.
is it?
What is it?
What is
What is this
this
body
body
mind? So it's
mind?
like the whole thing is like a little bit weird, and then you see like this person hanging here, like it's very confusing. And that was the intention of the trailer, to be like really big, so people will be like, okay, this is more like an artsy movie, I feel. So I wanted people to have that feeling so they can resonate with this. If you notice, it's really different from the two trailers that I showed you before, that is super fast paced, like the music contributes a lot. Okay, then that movie, like Photograph Dies, I released it in 2016. Then 2020, no, 2018, I signed with Sony to produce a series about Sony had this question. Sony, a lot of people ask me like, hey, your trips are great. How do you capture these photos? How do you make it? We want to see how you plan, how we want to be there. And I was like, okay, there are two options. Either you join me in one of these workshops, one of these expeditions that I do, or, like as an attendee, or you just like, we need to film it. So that's when Sony said, like, we want to produce a series with you where you show us how you capture the photos. So it started as something that was really exciting, because it was like, okay, how we're gonna show, the behind the scenes of my work, but I didn't feel satisfied with just getting there with showing the behind the scenes. I actually wanted to show you, like really immerse you in the feeling, and I actually wanted to be the guinea pig to create something more interesting. So let me just show you the trailer, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the series and the episodes. So let's watch it. So Aperture, A World of Stories is, as I mentioned to you, we wanted to create, a series that shows you how to be a photographer. Again, this is the context of 2018 to 2020 when we filmed this. Um, so we decided, like, where do we start? The first thing we did was we filmed in India, Nepal, China. We filmed just behind the scenes. And then it was months of thinking and thinking, like, okay, it's cool to see the behind the scenes. It's cool to see a photographer, like taking beautiful photos, being in beautiful locations, but how we can take it to the next level. So I decided, like, okay, I want to be the guinea pig. I'm gonna print my photos. I'm gonna like post process my photos, print my photos that I took in this trip, and I'm gonna walk into important people in the photography field. So I figured that I needed to talk to people. So things of, like working with Sony, they helped me to connect with the director of the World Photography Organization. And, like, because of my own relationships, I had built a relationship with Brent Lewis from the New York Times. So I pitched the idea to him and he was like, let's do it. So then we ended up we filmed with the World Photography Organization, and then we filmed here in New York with Brent at the New York Times office. So this is what you start seeing in the beginning of the episode. So let me just play a little bit. This is the first episode. It's called The Beginning.
What is it that drives us to dream? I wonder where all this road will lead me. Sometimes I like to get lost into different places, and I wonder how all this started out. I am Esteban Toro. I'm a travel photographer, but more than a photographer, I'm trying to understand what is all this world about. There is no better place to talk about the biggest passion I have had than here. I am about to share with you some of the most incredible stories I have experienced using my camera as an excuse to capture and share the beauty that this world holds within.
In terms of your access, how do you approach that?
That's a really interesting question. It depends from country to country.
So then, the beginning, this is the beginning of the series. What you're seeing here is you're gonna start seeing how I am showing the photos to Scott, and Scott is looking at these photos, asking questions, and then we start traveling to those locations, and you see how these photos are being produced. We're talking about printing, and at the time, it was still like, like a thing, like to show your portfolio printed. He really appreciated having the portfolio printed. He's an art collector, so he like you can see what are the things that he's looking for, and then like the first episode goes all with him. You can see, like the behind the scenes, how we build, like how we photograph all the places that we're discussing here. It seems like an interview slash conversation, but if you're into photography and you want to have really good insight of what's going on with the art, like the fine art world of photography, this is extremely useful because I'm telling the story of how I capture the photos here, and you can see his reaction. And then if you go to the episode number 2 that you will see here, let me just play a little bit for you. You're gonna see the reaction of Brent Lewis, the New York Times, which is completely different. And sometimes they will really match their opinion on what is happening in the industry, and sometimes they will be like, I will not choose this photo. And then let's say Scott will say like, like this is a good photo, but I will not consider this photo for my collection. And then Brent will be like, this is an amazing editorial image.
Join us in an adventure in the holiest river of the Hinduism religion, where Esteban is about to photograph the Agores, a small group of sadists. They engage in post-mortem rituals. They smear cremation ashes on their bodies and use bones from human corpses for crafting skull cups and jewelry.
I've been looking for the gory for a long time. These are these beautiful men who were...
So this is everything that happened before, like how I pre-produce the photo, like how I think about the images that I'm gonna create. You can see me like, like walking around, finding the subjects. You can, I don't, my internet's a little bit slow, maybe because of the live stream. But you can see it here, like it's all happening here. And then eventually I end up having a conversation. Let me just refresh here. I end up having a conversation
bones to paint their bodies as well.
there.
So
I end up having the same conversation with Brent, and we discuss, like these are the photos that, that I'm interested in. What advice do you have? And I think especially the combination of like understanding how they see the world has been like really impactful for the photography community. And honestly, that was an idea that came to my mind only when I was in the process of already filming the series. I was on the plane, and one day I decided like, I want to take it to the next level. Who is the right person that will be the right guide for us to have it? So that's when I thought about Brent and Scott. That's why it took a couple of years to produce this series, but you can see it all. The third episode, so the first one is called The Beginning and the Research. I will say that this is if you want to put it in a way, this is the why I do what I do. The traditions and the chaos, like the third and fourth episode. This is about a specific region in India. It's more about like how I do it. This is specifically about how I photograph. And here you can see in the chaos, you can see like scenes where like I'm in the middle of the Holy Festival and they throw buckets of water at me and stuff like that. So it's like super like hands-on on like how does he take the photos. Let me show you a little bit.
Wedding has begun. All India celebrates the Holi festival, a festival that can be one of the most incredible adventures in a photographer's life. Nevertheless, it also implies getting into the risk of the water.
This is shot by me, like I'm the one there, a photographer couldn't get there.
Dancing. Big crowds. Being hit hard by women and the colored powder they throw to everyone.
So it's like, this is more like how I created these photos. And then the final one was a reflection of something that happened during, and this happens a lot when you're a documentary filmmaker and photographer, a story that happened while I was producing the documentary. It's a really sad story, and we decided to leave this episode as a tribute. So this wasn't planned before. I don't want to spoil you the series. I would love if you can go and watch it. But basically, the structure here that is happening is like the why, the how, and the what. The why I do what I do, the how I do it, and the what is exactly what I do as a photographer, as a filmmaker. So these 5 episodes really summarize, like my work as an artist, I will say. Um, so you can check it out, but it's a completely different structure from the one that I was showing you with a photograph dice that is more like contemplative. This is like super fast paced. Then you have like an interview and more reflection on photography and what it means to be a photographer, and then you have something that goes like way more emotional. We have a couple of minutes left. I want to show you I want to leave like 2 or 3 minutes for questions, but I wanted to show you this commercial that I produced and edited for BenQ. So let me just show you really quick. So in the commercial line of things, this is closer to the process that I'm having right now. It's like, like contemplative. It's, like really to the point. I want to show how using the BenQ monitors, you can actually achieve like high quality fine art printing. It's exactly what I do using this monitor. Um, I wanted to show you this one as well because I promised that I was going to show you this. It's a commercial that I did for Aerometrics. It's a geospatial company that I work for. And I don't know why the resolution is so low. Let me try to increase it here. Okay, so you can see it. One of the biggest challenges that I have with this shot was that we had to coordinate. This probably is still my favorite shot. We had to coordinate for multiple days, not only the videographer and the photographer who were in another helicopter, but the coordination between the two helicopters, having the sunrise, having the right distance, and nothing like this was done before. Like having a photographer so close to the city, having this perspective. We had to run multiple tests. So I love these super high produce, like images and scenes. It took us like months to produce this single shot. So that's why I love to show it. I feel it just looks really good. And now, before we jump into like 2 minutes of questions, I'm also producing currently a lot of short content for Adobe. So I'm showing you how to edit a lot of footage. So if you really have like technical questions or like how do you color correct? How do you create this on Premiere Pro? How do you change? I'm doing all that over here. So TikTok and X, I'm usually creating tutorials for you. So you guys can go and see it and you can see, like what are the, like really like new features, what is happening, what are the features that I use the most, how I use them. It's really hands-on, and especially because for time's sake, it's like super short. Like I'm producing some that are 15 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds. I try to keep it super short so you guys can like just have the bite in the morning if you want to like learn a little bit about video editing. Okay, and with that, I'm running out of breath. We have 3 minutes if you guys have some questions, and then we can wrap it up.
Awesome work, Esteban. Thank you very much. It's interesting to see everything that goes on behind the scenes when you're creating these incredible videos. Everyone be sure to check out Esteban's content. If you enjoyed this webinar, I know you're going to love all the content that he produces online. Couple questions. Yes, Devin, his work is truly impressive. We're lucky to have him as a
Thank you.
BenQ ambassador. So Devin asks, do you shoot video with the same camera you use for stills, or do you use other video equipment with a separate videographer?
Both. So I will have I still shoot with Sony, and I love my Sony equipment. I love the fact. Look, if I could choose any brand in the world, because I love the brand and I love how it feels, I will use a Hasselblad. But Hasselblad doesn't have video. That kills me. That's like, I'm sorry, guys. Until you have video, I really can't, like just use your gear entirely. I need a video camera as well. So I will need to carry maybe my Hasselblad and a Sony on the side. I have used the same one, the same gear to shoot photo and video. I have had as well videographers with professional cameras, like, I mean, professional cameras, you know what I mean, like Arri, Red, stuff like that, Sony FX3, FX6 filming, or just simple, simple mirrorless, or even an iPhone. So yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, and then question from Mahesh. If you were to start all over again, what would you do differently?
Mahesh, if I don't know if you're a photographer or a videographer or both, but I will suggest that documenting your behind the scenes from the very beginning is going to be really useful over time. People will want to know when did you start, how did you start, what were the first photos, videos that you shot, how did you do it, and then if you want to put together like pieces about you, and like if you want to show your work, and if you want to advocate for your own brand, I think that's going to be really useful. So I will make sure to document everything, learn. If you're a photographer, learn video. If you're a videographer, learn photography, learn video editing. That's gonna give you a good structure of how to, like put scenes together, how to combine one image with the next one. And I will also dream big. Really, when I produce Aperture, I wasn't even living in New York, and to me, like having the New York Times on board and having Sony on board to produce, like going to the New York Times building, talking to a New York Times editor, talking to the director of the World Photography Organization and showing them my work, that was like beyond my wildest dreams. So, but it just happened by dreaming. So yeah, don't be afraid to dream.
Awesome advice. Okay, question from me. What tips do you have for setting up successful time lapses?
Huh, man, it's been quite some time that I shot my last time lapse. And right now I do it so simple. Right now in my Sony camera, I have like this special setting there. I forgot. I know it, my muscle memory knows how to get there. I just set it up and basically just make sure that you know what is the pace that you want your time lapse to look like. Do you want it to be like super slow and contemplative, or you want it to be like, like many frames into each one of the seconds of your shot, and decide that, learn the technique. You don't need to learn the technique. You can nowadays you can just go and check a video how to do it or check online, and then just make sure that what you're capturing is interesting, that the movement that is happening in front of you, it's interesting.
Okay, thank you. Another question from sorry if I butcher this. Lice Sieber. I know you're talking about doing all the photography, but do you have any suggestions for older VHS tapes that need to be color corrected once digitalized?
What I will do if I were you, I will bring it to Premiere. And if you go to the Lumetri panel, there is auto match color that will help you grade it's a good start. But again, like when you're turning into digital any file, the most important thing you can do is make sure that whatever you're using to turn it digital, it's a great source. Like it's scanning in the best resolution possible. That's gonna give you the most amount of, like color bit, and it's gonna give you the most amount of pixels. And with that, you can easily play and adjust the color. But it's going to be a little bit hard to grade depending on how old and how good the quality of the original VHS is. But I will still run it by Premiere Pro and try to, like do adjustment here and there.
Okay, another question from Devin. Thank you, Devin, for all these questions coming in. How often do you work for yourself versus clients, and then spec projects versus paid projects?
That's a wonderful question. Look, I feel not I feel. I remember m my first trips were like I will photograph people, like it was basically people who wanted to have a photo shoot. I will photograph them, save money, and go traveling. And no one will pay for my travels. And I will have this expectation like, oh, after my first trip, National Geographic is gonna call me and they're gonna hire me. And it doesn't happen that way. You really have to produce work, put your name out there. People will start noticing you. Maybe they won't say anything, and then eventually the clients come. Right now, it just reminds me a meme that I saw somewhere that is like the photographer at the beginning is shooting everything, and then it's like the pro photographer is not shooting unless it's getting paid. Uh, I basically don't do so much like spec projects anymore. I do commission work. I would say like 90% of the time. I will still be filming here and there, especially because I know that I can use it after either for a client or for, like something that I'm producing, such as like a movie. I don't know if I'm going to produce a movie 5 years from now. So I may have a shot here and there that I produce on spec, but mostly if I'm doing like the hard lift, I will just be like working like for a client for sure.
Awesome. And then, so when shooting, do you have a certain mood or song layout picked out in your head for what you want in the end product?
Not really. I just let myself be inspired by whatever I'm feeling. Well, that day, whatever is happening in my mind, whatever is concerning me or not, or I feel happy and then I just leave the moment and then I just see it with different eyes. I feel the music. If I re-edit any of the videos that I show you and I show you like and I put other music on top of it, another voiceover, it will generate a completely different video. So I feel the music is the key to a great video piece. So that's the secret. Is I'm not telling you something new. It's been said many times, but I can confirm that the music is the key to any great video. So
Yeah, agreed.
become really invested in the music.
Yeah, and yeah, on that, I wanted to ask you, given the level of importance and significance the sound design that brings to these videos, uh, how much do you normally budget for these for the right music and the overall sound?
It depends on the project, but I think that I like to pay really well the people I work with. That's key for me. I advocate all the time for people getting paid well in my industry. We know that sometimes it's not the case, but I try to do it. So I usually do it the other way around. I call the people I work with and I explain them the project. I ask them for what is something that they will feel fairly compensated and I try to get as minimum that. Um, if possible, even more. So it's really all over the place. Like it can be like for something really short and quick, I can just like maybe use like Adobe stock and download the music from there. But if it's something that I'm producing like a series, then it needs to have a bigger budget. So we can be talking about like starting from 10K all the way to 50, 60K, depending on the sound design and the complexity of it.
Awesome. Yeah, it's great that you kind of leave up to them to see how they would feel as far as compensation goes. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Esteban. Yeah, thank you again for your time. I think that's all the questions we have. Everybody, thank you for joining us on this Friday special webinar. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Hope everybody has a lovely weekend. Thank you everyone for dropping where you're from. It's super great to see where everyone's tuning in from, just all over the globe. Really makes me feel more connected to everyone. So yeah, y'all's participation really made this more special. This webinar will be available at a later date for you all to reference. It'll be sent out to everyone. So again, enjoy your weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Bye.